Hey guys, welcome to Chatty Cathy and Crew. Today's crew member is going to be my homie Mike, and today's topic is going to be the impact of growing up in foster care and how it relates to him as a kid and as an adult. Thanks for coming on the show, Mike. I appreciate that. All right, so you heard the question or the topic. Let's start out as a kid. How did it make you feel growing up in the system from the start? Matter of fact, how old were you when you came into the system?
I want to say I think I was 8.
Okay.
I think that's what stands out to me, 8. I don't remember a whole lot about it, but 8 stands out.
So 8, okay. So you turned 8. Okay, go from there. What happened? Whatever you can remember. In that moment, were you scared?
To be honest, not scared. I was kind of relieved, if that might be shocking to hear.
Really?
There was so I wasn't like, my story isn't like, my family wasn't there or like I was abandoned or anything.
Okay.
I'm pretty much the reason I ended up in the system, in the sense that not like I caused it to happen.
Okay.
But if I didn't take action myself, I wouldn't have ended up in the system. So for me, it was a good thing that I ended up in the system. Had I not, I might not even be living to tell this story had I not.
Put yourself in the system.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you first went to the system, did you go with somebody you know? Because I know sometimes they do family placement. You went outside your house.
Well, yeah.
Outside your family, I'm sorry.
No. Initially, when the day, I was placed, not immediately, not like right that second, but like within a day or two, I got to go with family. Okay. And that wasn't really a good situation. Okay. So then I ended up in the system. So like, I was in the system, but I was with family. But once that went left, I ended up, being placed with people I didn't know. Okay. So that's how that went.
So how did that make you feel? Besides relief, I know you said relief, but get into it a little bit. So
when I ended up with people I didn't know, that's when, like, I guess you can say I was already depressed. Okay. From events that led up to me going into the system. Okay. But that's when like the feeling of like, what the hell, like that's when I felt abandonment. When I ended up with people I didn't know. With foster people. Like that's when I ended up in foster care to me, because I ended up with people I didn't know.
Okay, how many homes were you in?
Homes? Initially, one. That was my first time being on the east side of town outside of one time in my childhood. So that was my second time being east, but I was east, like, where is this? I ended up with this lady off York Road. Okay. And she had other kids in the home that were foster children. So that was my first experience with that. And I don't know how old I was. Okay. Probably about 10, 11 or something like that.
Okay. So when you came in at 8, right? Mm-hmm. You went with family for a 5th, right? A couple days or whatever. And then you went...
No, I was with family for a good minute.
Okay.
I'm not good with dates and time frames because of some events in my childhood
that
I was told that, I talked to a psychiatrist, and she said a lot of people experience that when they have childhood trauma or just trauma, period. Okay. If that event stands out in your head, it kind of clouds your memory, so that things that happened a year ago, things that happened 10 years ago may feel like 3 years ago to you. So I was with family for about a year or two, so it wasn't like I was there briefly.
Right. And then you went to this other lady house, right?
From what I remember going from there to the lady.
All right. Do you know why you left that lady house?
I wasn't.
You wasn't feeling it?
I don't know if it was me or if it was her, cause like I don't remember her name or anything. I remember her being an older lady.
Okay.
Older black lady, and I guess that was just a temporary thing, because that happens a lot in the system. Like they call them placements.
Okay.
And they're not always permanent. So it might just be like, okay, we need to find you somewhere to go. We got this person that's willing to take you for a month, a week, whatever. I wasn't with her long. I think after I left her, I went to a group home, I think.
Okay. How was that experience?
The group home was rough.
Was rough?
Yeah, that was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I worked at a group home, so
yeah.
I see the interaction.
Yeah, and it was rough for me because it wasn't really. I don't even know if group homes have structure, but it was just everybody mingling. It was like younger kids with older kids, and that's to me, that's like that was my experience. Like that's why it was rough for me, because the older kids made it their priority. You know what I mean? And I was younger, so it was just like, oh, what the hell?
Like, come on. Okay, I get it.
I found my way.
You found your way?
Yeah.
Okay, so after that, then you got placed to your permanent home? No? So you went through a couple more houses?
I'll get to you like this.
All right, run it till we get to the permanent house. As much as you can. You don't have to get into real descriptive.
No, initially.
Okay.
Up until 8. My mother passed away when I was 8 years old.
Okay.
So, and I was in a 2-parent household. I got 2 other siblings.
Okay.
So, I'm actually at a place right now where I can tell you this without
feeling some type of way.
Not even feeling some type of way. Like I would just shut down. Like my body would shut down.
I see
couldn't
handshaking.
Even get to this.
It's
point.
okay.
So,
take your time.
No,
I appreciate
you.
I appreciate you doing it though.
So, my mother passed when I was 8, but like I said, 2-parent household.
Okay.
My father was there, but he was the breadwinner. My mother didn't work. As far as like, I remember my mother working for a little bit, but as far as I remember, mother didn't work, father worked.
Okay.
When my mother passed, she took care of all the household duties, the bills. Like I said, he worked, came home.
Okay.
Alcoholic. My mother was too.
Okay.
So my mother passed. I think she was 32 when she passed. I was 8. She died of cirrhosis of the liver. Okay. So when she passed, for him, like, this is my understanding of it now. Like, he and I haven't really had a talk about it. Okay. But for me, I feel like maybe because she did everything, he like, I got kids. For what now? You know what I mean? Right. So his way of mourning and grieving was to turn more so to the alcohol and drugs, which was already there. But for him, it's like, I guess the pressure of being a single father, he turned to that more. Okay. My brother and my sister ended up going with family. Okay. I'm the youngest, so I guess my family's way of thinking was, he's the youngest. He may not have how do you like, I guess you know how like older kids, they're more able to think for themselves, and maybe their opinion like, look, I gotta get out of here, or I don't know. I haven't even talked to family about that, but I ended up with my father, and I wasn't doing good in school because I messed up about my mother passed, and my mother was everything. Right. And the way all that went down, seeing all that happen, kind of messed with me. Right. Because when it happened, I was so young I couldn't go to ICU, so I just remember her leaving in the ambulance, and that was it. That's my last memory. Okay. So I wasn't doing too well in school. Okay. And him not really being a full-time parent, his way of discipline was more of not like, well, let me try to understand what's going on, and you know, you got your ass whooped as a kid, but it was more of like, he didn't know me, so it was straight abuse. Okay. So I ended up going into the system because something happened one particular night when I was 8, and I decided like, cause we lived with my grandmother, and that was my safe haven. But my grandmother worked, and she worked a lot of doubles, and she wasn't there. So when she wasn't there, it was like free reign for him.
Okay.
So he get the drinking, I'm just a target. So one particular night, I ended up calling the cops, and I was taken away, and that's how I'm able to sit here and tell you this story. Now, even though the rule wasn't, you know, easy, you know what I mean? Yeah. I am where I am, and I'm happy and I'm thankful. But so that night, you know, I ended up getting placed with an uncle. Okay. And being placed with my uncle put me next to my siblings because they live in that same area out in South Baltimore. So I'm like, hey, I'm here. Things didn't go good with the uncle. He had a drug problem of his own. Right. His wife was in the home. His wife decided to leave, take everything. Right. I'm stuck with him. The people come checking on the situation. They're like, we can't leave you here. Right. So I get taken away. I don't know exactly where I went after that. Okay. I think that's when I went to the lady. That stands out to me. Okay. I was there for a brief moment. Then I think I went to the group home, which was somewhere in like West Baltimore County. Okay. Some big facility out there. That was my first experience with the group home. Mm-hmm. And after that, I remember going to, I think when I left there, I ended up going to somewhere down the line. I ended up in University of Maryland, their medical facility. Okay. And they thought I was crazy because I was acting out.
Just lashing out because you were upset.
And there, when you act out, they throw you in a padded room. Right. Stick a needle in you, calm you down.
Pedro.
I was there for a minute. Then things kind of escalated there because I had an incident where I inflicted some harm on another child. Okay. So things got worse there. Okay. And I remember my father would come and visit me there, and I would get all the false promises like, oh, you're going to come home, blah, blah, blah. Right. Then some way I ended up going to Woodburn group home. I remember being there for a while off of Lock Raven. Okay. There for a while, I had a social worker along the way. Then I ended up I ended up being with my grandmother for a period. She moved east. I was there for a minute. Like I said, she worked a lot. So that really didn't work out. And I was still acting out. Right. And that really didn't work out.
So let me ask you this question. When did you calm down?
I was just about to.
All right, go ahead. You got it?
After the grandmother. No, that was a good question. After the grandmother, I ended up going to another foster home. Okay. Matter of fact, I'm wrong. But long story short, after the grandmother, I went to a foster home. Okay. I was there for a short period. She and I formed a bond. She had 2 other children herself. Okay. That's who you know. Okay. But that wasn't permanent, so I ended up having to leave there. Okay. And I think when I left there, bam.
You gotta take
No, I remember now. Okay. After leaving the group home, I went to the foster parent. Okay. It was a good situation. We formed a bond. Went to my grandmother. They're like, the whole thing with foster care is they want to get you back with your family. Okay. So from there, it's like, okay, we can get you with family now. That was the grandmother. Okay. Love my grandmother to death. She worked a lot. Didn't really work out. So I ended up going back to, after I left my grandmother, I went to the group home on Woodburn. The foster parent found out about that through my caseworker because she always checked with him to see how I was doing. Okay. Once she found out I was there, she said, oh no, like, I want him back. Okay. Ended up there, worked out great. I tried being back with family. It didn't really work out too great. So I asked her one day, like, you know, what's up with this adoption stuff? Like, I don't think that's going to work out, me going back with my family. So what you think about that? And she was shocked. Like, you know, like, if that's what you really want, like, you know, I don't have a problem with it. Like, she looked at me like her son, like she birthed me. So, and then during that time, I felt like kind of like my family didn't care. So with the adoption, they had the option to change the last name. So my last name was legally changed.
Oh, your last name changed?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It changed legally on paper. Like if I ever need a replacement, I'll never be able to get another document with the last name I use because legally that's not my name.
Oh wow.
So yeah, went on here with the adoption
and that's where you stayed.
That was that.
Okay. That's, you know, and me knowing you, when I met you there, right? I never knew you act however you was acting or feeling some type of way. You never showed any of that at that point. So I'm guessing being with her helped you transition into who you needed to be.
When I met you, that was the second time I was there. So you met me when it was
the second time.
End of the road.
Oh, okay. Cool. That's what's up though. So let me ask you this. So do you feel like the system helped you or hurt you being in the system?
During my time, I won't say it hurt me because, like I said, they were trying to get me with family. So I'm not one of those people like they failed me or they did me dirty. Like I don't really feel no way towards the system. I understand how other people's experiences are, and I understand how things are now. Like. Not all social workers are, you know, in it for the right reasons, and as well as foster parents. So, I feel like it served its purpose then, and that was in the 90s.
So, what impact does it have on you now with your own children? Do you feel like you cling to them a little more because of your situation?
Not because of foster care or adoption, but my situation with my mother and my father. That has affected me more than being in foster care. Like things that happened prior to me going into the system has affected me more than my time in foster care, and me with my children is more based off of what happened with my parents, my mother dying, my father being who he was at that time and who he continues to be, has an impact on my children, or how I parent and how I feel towards them.
So I got a question. All right, so you growing up in the system, right? Well, yeah, I guess at 8. Did you ever feel like once you got to your foster care, your last placement, because you said she had kids of her own, do you ever feel like you missed out on any of that love? Or do you feel like it was, of course I know she loved you, right? But do you feel like because it wasn't your biological parent that she didn't love you the way you felt like your mother would? Did you ever have those thoughts?
Not from her. No, I never had any of those thoughts based off of how she treated me or how the energy I got from her. Mine was always based off of why couldn't I have what her children have with her.
Sweet.
Why couldn't my mother still?
So those was your question.
Yeah, and I think like any issues that we may have had or any rough patches was based off of my own feelings and my own depression. You know what I mean? Okay. Like she did everything she could.
Okay.
But I think it was more of an internal thing. Yeah. Like she never mistreated me or anything.
Right.
Even the first lady that I was with, like I said, I don't remember too much about it, but
right.
It's like I never got any mistreatment from any of the foster parents I had. You know what I mean? Only weird situations I was ever in was in the first group home.
Okay.
And then University of Maryland. That was crazy.
Okay. Would you ever adopt or foster care children? I mean, I know you had your own.
I would, and that's something that I've thought about.
Okay.
I took measures for me to not have any more kids, so that's something that I've thought of. And, yeah.
Okay. Cool. So, I guess it's a tough situation, and I mean, you gave your story as plain as can be as to what you can remember. If you could change anything, and I get bringing your parent, your mom back or whatever, that situation, I know that would be something you would change. But is it anything that you would change about the way you view things or the way you saw things, or you fine with how things are? Did it make you have to be who you are? Did it set you, give you the mindset that you have now, or is it anything you wish would have went just a little bit different? And I understand your mom part, so.
I guess maybe initially when I ended up with my uncle, I guess maybe I wish that would have turned out. Well, no, I can't even say that because the issue was still there.
Okay.
Of the major thing, like what happened with my mother and my father not stepping up.
Okay.
I understand. Like I don't talk to my father. He and I don't have a relationship. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you where he lived. I have a number. I don't know if that number still works. But I've tried. I guess him, my father. I would. Yeah, I wish he would have. I wish I could change him.
Okay.
Because maybe if he would have stepped up.
Okay.
But I'm one of them people, like, I don't believe in God.
Okay.
But I'm one of them people that I guess believes things happen for a reason.
Yeah.
Karma.
Right.
But I can sit here and say that I wish he turned out to be different.
Okay.
But who knows what would have came of that, because that area we lived in was right in the middle of Park Heights. I was around a lot of drug dealing, dog fighting,
right.
So who knows? Maybe I could have went down that road and ended up out here on somebody's t-shirt, you know what I mean?
Right,
because a good friend of mine in that neighborhood, he's no longer here. He died a few years ago, and that's the life he lived. So,
okay.
So he and I to be as close as we were, maybe that would have been my path too. So.
Right. So if you had to tell a child that's going through a similar situation, might not be to the depth of yours, but a similar situation that's going through foster care or going through anything, what advice would you give them? That's a child that's in the system. Like if you had to tell them anything to get them through to the next point, what would you tell them?
Don't fight the system. Because I'm one of them people that I'll make the best of any situation.
Okay.
And you got to understand, like, those people didn't put you there. Okay. They're there to help. It may not be the best help, but how can it help you if you're fighting it? How can it in it being those people that you are placed with? Now, the group homes, that's a different thing because you got a lot of people with their hands in that you're dealing with. But if you're with a foster parent, someone that's trying to help you, not someone like, you get a lot of people, like I said, that are in it for the wrong reasons and mistreat these kids. But if you're with somebody that's really trying to help you, like, don't fight them. Like, how does that help you?
Right.
like my situation with my last foster parent, who was now my adopted parent, I fought her a lot in a sense. Like, you're not my mother. Like, I don't know you. You don't know me. But once I felt like, you know, like this woman is genuinely like trying to help me, and this woman kept tabs on me even after I left the first time. And the reason I'm back here is because she said, no, bring him back here. So it's like, why? Like, hey, why am I going to resist here? Let's just make the best of it.
And that's what a lot of them do too. They'll be a lot of children that's in the foster care. They'll fight, but I guess that's because they still, like you said, they're dealing with that internal thing, and the only thing
the young ones, they don't understand.
Right. That's good stuff, man. I'm glad you took the time out to share your story.
No problem.
I appreciate that. I know
it might help somebody.
I hope so, man. Thanks for coming on the show. Hopefully one day we can get you back on and talk about something else, dab it up, son. I appreciate you.
No problem.
Like, share, subscribe, do what you do. Chatty Cathy and Crew, we out.